Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. All trustees are present. Karina, has the agenda been posted according to the Nevada Open Meeting Law? Okay, and for the record, legal counsel is online on the phone if we need something. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance, let's please, Amanda, you want to start it for us? Put you to work on your first day. You can start it. Thank you. All right, moving on to public comment. Members of the public to speak are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to a uniform number of minutes. That number is 3 minutes. Board members may respond briefly to public comment but cannot deliberate on matters that are not listed on the agenda. For matters on the agenda, the board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. A summary of public comment will be noted in the minutes. Is there any public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, review and adoption of agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as posted.
I have a motion by Trustee McFadden, a second by Trustee Bullock. Is there any public discussion on the review and adoption of agenda? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? It is unanimous. Superintendent update. A, Future Farmers of America, FFA, state winner under Prepared Speaking Leadership Development will present the winning speech.
Okay, thank you. So, Allie Fade is with us tonight. You want to go ahead and come up, Allie, and have a seat? So she's going to present to the school board her state-winning FFA speech. In preparation, she's on October 25th. She's going to the National FFA Convention. And what it is the Prepared Speaking Leadership Development event. She'll present a 6 to 8 minute speech that she's written and answer 3 to 5 questions about the speech. So the challenge for the board is to listen to her speech and be prepared to ask her 3 to 5 questions when we're finished to help her in preparation. So she'll present that. You'll ask questions, and we'll have somebody headed off to nationals. Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Yes, my name is Allie Fate. I'm the county FFA.
And Allie, well, you got to keep it real close, that one to you. Sorry. Thank you.
You're okay. My name is Allie Fate. I'm the Churchill County FFA president, and this year, as Mr. Parsons mentioned, I won the state contest and am prepared for nationals at the end of the year, and I appreciate you guys listening to my speech. I'm going to stand up.
You can hold it.
We've all been told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but have you ever picked up the back of your cereal box, skimmed the back of it, and actually read through the ingredients list? If you have, you are not alone. Food safety is a rising issue in today's society. Food regulations outline methods intended to protect public safety by ensuring the safety, efficacy, and security of our nation's food supply, but sometimes these become counterproductive. Everyone wants to make healthy food decisions. Eating healthy is becoming extremely important to consumers. Alternatives like organic foods have gained traction amid purchasers. According to the USDA Economic Research Service, the United States organic retail sales have increased an average of 8% per year over the past decade. However, the higher retail cost of these products in today's economy tends to be a drawback when compared to their conventionally produced counterparts. Foods labeled as natural or naturally grown are another alternative. However, the natural labeling process is often less consistent in terms of how it is defined and as to what the food actually is. These foods may not be any better than conventionally produced foods. Now more than ever, people are determined to know exactly what's in their food and where it comes from. Consumers feel more comfortable purchasing from farm-to-market producers, where healthy foods are more readily available. Farm-to-market producers are typically the smaller farmers and ranchers that don't have the economy of scale. These operations include private membership associations, co-ops, and farmers markets. According to the USDA's 2022 Census of Agriculture, from 2017 to 2022, Sales through these 3 direct sales channels have increased 33.2% to $14.2 billion, and the number of operations selling through them has more than doubled to 60,332. As consumers, we are able to purchase pretty much anything that can be grown, harvested, and produced. Animal products like meat, dairy, and eggs are common, as well as fruits, vegetables, honey, and nuts, among others. Farm-to-market producers generate popularity because you can meet face-to-face with the producer, have a genuine conversation, and even possibly hand-pick your own products. For instance, someone wanting to buy a grass-fed and finished steer, communicate directly with the producer, and possibly even pick out which animal they liked best. Farm-to-market producers give the community healthy produce and dairy products with explicit ingredients and without extra additives. These types of operations have become so popular that my own state land-grant university has created guidelines, classes, and seminars to show producers how to tap into this market. Private membership associations are one of the last legal avenues producers have to directly sell their farm goods to without government mediation. These private farm-to-market avenues are selling their products directly to the public. Thus, they focus their business to the public rather than wholesale producers. But these marketing methods are not without potential problems. Current state and federal regulations may prohibit the functionality of these farm-to-market producers. For instance, for example, an Amish farmer, Amos Miller, founded one of these co-ops to sell his products. In January of 2024, Miller was being sued by the state of Pennsylvania in the pursuit of a complete and permanent injunction against him. His operation, Miller's Organic Farm, was legally forced to cease the sale of products by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, even though his co-op members knew exactly what they were purchasing. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and the local authorities then raided Miller's Organic Farm, leaving the farm with coolers full of products to be tested, while not allowing Miller to perform independent testing to counter any allegations from the state. Thousands of raw dairy products were counted, thrown out, and wasted. Each product was individually recorded to ensure not one would be revived for human consumption. During this raid, Miller's Organic Farm lost tens of thousands of dollars in highly perishable foods, creating a significant financial loss for Miller. Many of Miller's private members relied upon these healthy products as they are unable to obtain them from their local grocery store. Primary reason Miller's customers purchase his organic foods, raw dairy products, and meat is because in doing so, they know exactly what is in the products they and their families are consuming. Taking the option of private farm-to-market producers away also takes away the public's food freedom. Government control on local private producers also deprives these businesses from thriving and making a profit. No one wants to run a business where no profit is being made. The farm-to-market approach supports local economies and communities. By purchasing directly from local farmers and producers, consumers contribute to their community's agriculture sector. This support helps small-scale farmers thrive and strengthens local food systems. Sustainable agriculture flourishes when consumers prioritize locally sourced seasonal ingredients, fostering a more resilient and interconnected community. When push comes to shove, that important breakfast meal can be made from healthy and safe local meat, bacon, milk, and eggs. As long as people desire healthier foods, the need for local, trustworthy food producers will continue to remain crucial. Farm-to-market producers have a closer, more personal relationship with their consumers than other producers. As with other local small businesses, word of mouth is vital to the successful marketing of farm-to-market sales. Thus, a bad or negative review can be a serious setback to successful farm-to-market sales. Thus, the incentive is strong for farm-to-market producers to provide safe, and nutritious foods to their customers. So, what's on the back of your cereal box? Thank you.
You guys have some questions for her?
I've got a question. So I can tell your speech is advocating for locally grown farmers markets, but in your opinion, what leads commercial food industry to have so many chemicals and additives?
I think that part of the reason a lot of our foods have chemicals and additives is for the fun colors and the things that draw the little kids in. If you notice, the fun cereals and fruit snacks are placed on lower shelves, eye level of our children, rather than up high where the adults can see them. I know that a lot of you guys have kids, so are you more willing to look at your kids and be like, okay, I'll get this for you? Harder to say no than it is to say yes, and so I think that some of the food producers have realized that and have shifted their market focus to the children, and then parents just think it's easier to say yes to your kid than say no.
I have a question for you. So, great job. There's a fine line between government oversight for safe farming practices and government overreach that inhibits local farming operations. Where do we draw the line to help keep consumers safe while giving people food access choices?
I think that's a great question, and I think it takes more than just figuring out what the line is, because everybody's line is going to be a little different. With the new changes with our Secretary of Health, I think that the policies and regulations that he's going to put in place will also help figure out where that line is, and I think it's important to look at the views of the farmers and the ranchers and the people that are producing these local foods, as well as the factory workers that are creating the more fun foods per se, and figuring out where that middle line will be for consumers as well.
A couple of questions. First of all, thank you, Allie, and best wishes to you in Indianapolis. Is that where you are? Yeah. Typically, the cost for products that are produced for farm to market are more expensive than in a store, which means it removes access to families who are most vulnerable. How do you address that with a farm to market?
Yeah, as I stated in my speech, organic food, something that is very healthy and on trend nowadays, is more expensive than others, and I think part of that comes from the farming methods that are having to be used. So there's probably going to need to be some innovation in terms of farming and land access that'll help make those foods cheaper to grow, but still able to produce the same amount of healthy benefits.
So, as a follow-up, are you saying that any food in the store is unsafe and unhealthy?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there needs to be a wake-up call to look and see what is actually in our food and our ingredients list. Some of the things on the back of our cereal boxes, for instance, I can't even pronounce the name of, and there's factory workers that have to wear gloves in order to actually produce the food, yet we're eating it and consuming it in our daily lives. It just kind of goes back to educating the public and seeing what public is willing to give and take as far as what they're willing to eat and what they want to feed their families.
So are you aware of what those chemicals are that are in or additives that are in the food? Even if you can't pronounce it, doesn't necessarily mean it's unsafe.
There's one specifically that Subway has recently been called out for. Again, I am not sure how to pronounce it. I can just see the spelling in my brain. But they use it in their bread, and it helps it rise in a uniform shape. But there's also been traces of that chemical found in the soles of shoes, and so it might be changed specifically for food, but if that is found, traces are found in our bread that we eat, and also in our shoes, the public doesn't really understand that. So how can producers on that.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you
think that
guys.
was
I
awesome.
appreciate you for your time.
I hope their questions helped to prepare you. One thing I did forget to mention I was going to is that Allie's grandfather used to sit on the school board a couple years ago, Tom Reagan. So he would have been here had it been years ago, but
You would have.
awesome. She did a great job, and I'm going to say good luck.
Thank you guys.
We look forward to seeing you again and hearing how things go for you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to B, the latest student enrollment data will be provided to the board. There was a written report. Any question on student enrollment? You're good? Okay. Human resources update, written report provided. Any questions for Cameron? Okay. B, principal reports. We have some of the principals here. Any questions on the principal reports?
It takes a little bit for the documents to open, so where I have my notes, so I apologize if it's taking me a second to for those. And Melindy's not here this evening, is she? Oh, okay. Hit the next one. Downloading.
I'll go real quick. So the principals, I know you guys do a plan with a group of teachers, staff members, parents, whatever. How do you relay the plan to the rest of your staff to make sure all the staff actually is going the same direction? I will let any one of you guys give that one a shot. Yeah, boy.
Sean Pearl, principal at Newham Elementary. So the school performance plan, or a variety of names now, the main thing is, this was due a lot earlier this year. So getting input from everybody was a challenge, and there was a lot of work right at the beginning of the school period. So we didn't really go over it during the first initial staff meeting. I've had information from teachers given to me, and we still honestly haven't gone through the whole plan as a staff yet. It is a fluid document anyway, and it can change. But I did communicate out that it's similar to our previous years, because they do kind of pigeonhole you into three categories, which are the adult learning, the student learning, connectedness was the third one. You look in there, but ours was always, staff knows, new curriculum. That's going to be a focus. Getting always student increase in student outcomes academically. So I communicated that out. Have they seen the full document yet? Not yet, but it will be in a staff meeting, and then we'll have a variety of meetings throughout the year for reviews, input, see where we're at on our goal setting.
While you're still up here, sorry, I just wanted to commend you. I really appreciated the information about having your SOP stations in your school to help make sure that you know, students and everybody were familiar, kind of kick off the year on. And you're welcome to answer this, and I would welcome any other principals too, but I noticed in all of the principal reports that there's been a reduction in minor and major behavioral incidents, and I know we're just in the first month of school, but compared to prior years. And I'm just curious as to what your take is on that. I mean, it's a great trend. I hope we keep that up, but you know, it's significantly different throughout all of our schools for this first month. And what do you attribute that to?
Well, there's always a honeymoon period, we know that. So, and we're starting to see some slight increases, but I don't have any formal data. Just personally, what I think is happening is we are having more consistency throughout the elementary schools, and actually, I don't know about the secondary, but I'm sure it is. You know, EC Best is doing those same stations now, when I read the reports. And I think it's really, really important because there's a consistency now and of expectations, and no matter what school you're at, I think that attributes a lot to it.
Great, thank you. And also, I just wanted to, you know, tell you that I really appreciate you having your SMART goal and having something really specific about your, you know, 10 percentage points, you know, with the, for the end of the school year for the MAPS, ready in math. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing onto that also? I'm sorry, I meant to do this at the start of the principals, but the data also, we started school 2 weeks later. It's not going to be an exact comparison. And I appreciate Principal Perel, though. He's like, here's the things we're doing, because we do see a difference. Even with that starting 2 weeks later, when we're looking at things, we are seeing a difference. And it's for a lot of those reasons. But it will, as we get a couple months in, we'll be able to start looking, and maybe we'll try and do something to see a little comparison a little bit closer. But there is a 2 week skew kind of on that because of our school calendar this year. But I will say is we're monitoring the things like every couple of days, looking in there, and it's good. We're very what's the word? Very hopeful and very pleased. I guess the superintendent. Pleased isn't the right word because that sounds like. But I'm just so happy to see that there is a trend. Looks like it's going a good way, and that's from the work of staff, administration, the staff, and the students themselves as well on what's going on. So it does look. It is a good start.
Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, Principal Barton. I do have a question. In your first statement about points of celebration, you talk about the data is being analyzed. I'm assuming that's, of course, the math and iReady data. But how do you analyze your data, and what data are you using to help your students?
So that just kind of goes along with what Sean Perot was saying, that these goals that we're making, this isn't something that I'm creating. This is a discussion that we've had last year, all year long. So we look at that data, the growth and achievement data from MAPS and iReady, and our teachers already know the concerns. They know the expectations. So we don't really need to kind of push the school improvement plan. What we need to do is we make the school improvement plan based on what the teachers know already they need to do. So it's easy for us to roll that out because it's a conversation we've been having already. You know, we look at those data, we look at the colors basically, and so if any students are in pink and red, the goal is to get them out of the pink and red. So it's kind of simplify that, and we let our students know from the very first day, no more red. We're trying to get rid of the red, and if they find themselves in the pink or red, then they know they got to work a little extra harder.
And I know that helps clearly with identifying students, but when you get in those and determine are you using the data to determine why they're in those areas, and how to identify what?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're getting it from first to second grade to find out where the gaps are coming from. And so that's difficult. But we don't just use those data points, we use other data points. Part of that is our PBIS screeners, and so we identify the family concerns, we identify attendance, use all of that data to kind of help surround the student with the resources that they need to be successful.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
This is Michael Walker, for the record, Assistant Superintendent. And just to clarify, with school improvement plans, or continuous improvement plans as they're called lately, there's big shift. And so this year they gave us a little bit of leeway, so we had to have those submitted by September 15th to the Department of Education. And so some of these have been going through revisions, and now they're ready to be shared with not just the staff, but also the community, which schools will be required to do for the law. And then we're starting to look at a real robust way to look at student achievement data and make those plans. And so now that we're past kind of formulating these initial continuous improvement plans, we're working on our Read by Grade 3 plan, because we know early literacy is key to student success. So that'll be the next focus. And throughout this year in our principal PLCs and our leadership meetings, we'll be revisiting this process and formulating revisions to our school improvement plans that make it possible. So next year, by the time the principals leave, we'll have these ready to go for the following school year, because they will be due to the state August 15th next year, and they've told us there won't be any grace period. So we're consolidating our efforts and alignment as we revise these plans. And then it's a fluid time, because there were quite a few changes in the last legislative session, and so we're closely working with NDE to get the guidance as it comes out and implement it into our plans. And so it's hard for the principals to answer those specifically, because as a team, we're going to develop those plans as we get this guidance and data.
Thank you. I did have a question for, are you? Darrell, I don't know if this is something that you can answer, since Principal Paredes not here, but do you know what the character dares are? I was really curious about what that was in their Building Strong Character. Do you have any idea?
Say it one more time, please.
In the middle school report, under Building Strong Character, that they said they're looking forward to the school-wide character dares start happening on week 5.
I actually do not know what that is. I know they're doing lots of things.
Okay, that was.
But I can relay that to Principal Peretta, and we can get that information out.
That would be great. Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else have any questions for the principals? Thank you, guys. Thanks very much. Moving on to E, Churchill County High School Hope Squad students will provide an update on their efforts towards suicide prevention through the Hope Squad program.
So I'll get them started. It was, you may have seen, if you saw our social media post last week, I was invited. The Hope Squad actually asked that we come over and listen to them. They had to present some stuff to them. And as a result, we asked them to come to the board meeting tonight. And it is cool, because, you know, September is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month, so there's lots of good things. And I tell you, the superintendent walked in the room full of energy and lots of cool things going on, and high excitement for what they were doing. And throughout the presentation, it wasn't just for what they were doing, but why they were doing it, and the reasons behind it, and how they were doing it. And I was very impressed. And they agreed to come to the board meeting tonight and to share with you some of the things that they're doing, because one thing that I did share with them is that the school board has been very, placed a high priority on things with suicide prevention, and that one of the agenda items later on is a report on when we had we haven't quite got all staff members, it was really hard to do in one day, but almost every staff member trained in Safe Talk suicide prevention. So and the board has, I think, the first in the state to do, where we have a policy, I don't know if first in the state for sure, but the board recently did a policy and regulation for, policies for suicide prevention among students and among staff. 2 different policies with 2 purposes that are closely aligned. And they are fulfilling part of what this board is hoping or knowing and wanting to have done. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and they're going to share with you some things about Hope Squad. And when they're done, feel free to ask them some questions. They fielded a lot of questions from us and did a great job. Okay, it's up to you.
All right. Well, I wanna thank you for letting us come. Super excited, a little nervous. My name is Noah Saili, and I am our Hope Squad Vice President.
Evan Garcia, I'm our Hope Squad.
My name is Dominic Milne, and I'm the peer-to-peer communicator.
At Churchill County High School, our students face challenges that go beyond academics, such as stress, anxiety, and depression, and some, in more intense cases, even feelings of hopelessness. You know that we learned in Hope Squad that nationally, suicide is the second leading cause of death for teens. And not only do we feel, but we know that our hope and connection and support can change that story.
What is Hope Squad? Hope Squad is a peer-to-peer suicide prevention program founded in Utah and now used in schools across the country. Built on the idea that students often turn to peers before adults when they are struggling. Squad members are nominated by classmates and trusted peers, trained to listen without judgment, offer support and encouragement, recognize warning signs, connecting struggling students with trusted adults and resources. Squad does not replace counselors or teachers. It strengthens the safety net by building a bridge between students and the adults who can help.
In the 2024-25 school year, Churchill County High School launched its first Hope Squad. This year, in 2025 through 26, Hope Squad is not only a recognized program, it has grown as an official class offered during the school day. Students in Hope Squad receive training in QPR, question, persuade, refer, peer support, mental health awareness, and leadership. They also recognize school-wide events like Hope Squad, Awareness Week, awareness campaigns, service projects, and classroom presentations that spread messages and connection and resiliency.
Hope Squad matters to us because data shows that schools with Hope Squad programs experience an increase in help-seeking behavior, a stronger sense of school connectedness, and improved mental health awareness among students. For Churchill County specifically, we are a very rural community where access to mental health sources can be pretty limited. So we want to really get out there as much as possible because our resources can be limited. So our students need a safe and supportive environment where it's okay to ask for help. Peer leadership empowers students to take ownership for creating a culture of hope. Every life saved makes the investment worthwhile.
Our Hope Squad committee leads for peer support and events, advisors, teachers, and counselors who provide supervision and guidance, ongoing training and support to ensure students are well prepared and never working alone. Also built community partnerships, connecting with local mental health professionals and organizations to strengthen our network of care. Squad is more than just a club. It's a lifeline. It's about creating a school culture where every student knows you are not alone. You are valued and there is hope. This is our mission. So we are proud to be one of the schools leading this effort in Nevada, and we are grateful for the board's support in helping us and expand the program.
On behalf of Churchill County High School, thank you for investing in our students' well-being and giving them the tools to support one another. Together, we're saving lives and building hope. So,
back to me.
yes.
So I was taking your picture. I'll be sending you one.
Thank you.
This is awesome. So I asked you a question when we were there, and let's see if I did a good job. What did I say was the biggest promoter of suicidal ideation? In my opinion, this is an opinion. This isn't a fact statement, but it's an opinion.
It was social media.
That was part of it. The other one was silence.
Oh yeah, silence.
Yeah. Silence. It's oftentimes that with suicide and suicidal ideation things that we revert back to silence, and we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to address it. We don't want to acknowledge it. And Hope Squad acknowledges it with students, allows and provides an opportunity for it to be addressed in a safe environment. I did ask Sam, and I'm going to ask him again. So when you encounter someone who does express suicidal ideation, what do you do?
So we are here to help them and kind of like ease them out of it. But if something were to go like a further down the line, we can go to a higher up. We have many of those to talk to, such as Miss Spencer, who's our advisor, and we also have Miss Lisa Wepner. She's also another advisor, and just some counselors also. So it depends on how far along the line they are. If they're too far, then we always go to a higher up, because then that's going to be unsafe for them, and that's something that we shouldn't be dealing with, and it should be helped with a professional.
Awesome, and that's what I was very impressed with. They don't ignore it. They don't talk about it. They address it, and when they see the signs, and they were very well learned. I guess learned is the right word. They're very well learned on what the signs were to be able to know when to refer to someone. And as I told them, as a teacher, as a school teacher and administrator, I am trained. I know things to look for suicide prevention, but I am not a professional in that area. And so it is important when there's a certain level that we get to those professionals. And I was very impressed with that and with the things that they were doing. So I really appreciate you being here. I told them you might ask them questions if you have any questions about what they're doing. I don't know. I did agree with they said one of the things they really needed was some business cards. So we're buying in some business cards from the superintendent's office to get them going. And they're designing them, though. Once they're finished designing, I don't know if you've sent them over yet. They're going to send them to Caitlin. Caitlin's also going to assist them. Their big request was that we look into also what or how they can share with social media. It doesn't violate any of our policies, and that allows them. So we're reviewing that and figuring out just how to do it. And they have had some examples that they're seeing from other Hope Squads that are going. One that's currently very active is in Elko as well, doing that. So I was very excited and impressed with them. And if you do have some questions for them, this is a good time. Now that there's 4 of you, I will take another picture. So
I do have 2 quick questions. How many members do you guys have in your chapter that are trained?
So currently, how much do we have? Like around 20? I'd say we have around there. We do have options to still switch in there. Right now, we're either chosen to be in there, or you were asked to be in there by a teacher. So you can switch in there if you want to still, but right now we're sitting at about 20.
So in the start of the school year, we started out like with like a small group of individuals, but it was like kids that wanted to be in the class, so just chose the elective and they put you in that class. But we recruited kids to be in Hope Squad, so like there were I don't know, like 13 kids, but I think we have a little over 20. I think so. So I mean, we're just recruiting kids by the minute, and you know, kids want to join and be interactive and help students with suicide prevention.
One more, I noticed you have a life preserver ring on your sleeve. What does it symbolize?
For us, our life preserver means it's a lifesaver, so kind of showing hope. This is also when we always spell out hope, this always represents our O. So lifesavers, that's kind of our job. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to help people as much as we can. What they represent.
Else have any? Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious if you could give me an example of some planned outreach activities, or if you guys are just doing mentorship stuff.
I am I am the Hope Squad social media manager. Some plans we have for the future are, hopefully once we get the Instagram running and post reels and stuff, it's not going to be anything away from suicide prevention. Mostly we are there being in the same For You pages as people watching depressing things or stuff like that, using the same hashtags and all of that just to reach them. And I feel that would broaden our reach, and we are also open to any time for messages, just in case if we are not at school.
you know if the Hope Squad's gonna have a role when the school district puts on any kind of, trainings or assemblies and things like that for the students on suicide?
Yes, we do
Prevention.
plan, and we talked about them, and they've already been invited to a few things, so they'll have, and one thing that has impressed me about Hope Squad is that the students do a lot of the stuff, and they'll even do activities that may be independent from those things, but as we have those things, they'll be involved with those, have the opportunity to be there, and I think probably some help in planning and doing some of that with it. And Catherine Bourbon Muller has addressed them when we were there as well, and she's already, they have dates and things on some stuff, I believe, already, and I know that was coming. I think in the meeting they talked about a couple things, and so they definitely will have an active role, and that's what they've asked to have, most definitely.
Well, thanks for what you guys are doing. I think it's very important because I think for students your age, that peer support is such a key component. And so thanks for your interest in such an important mission and for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we're here to help as many people as we can, including volunteering. So we're also working on that as well as what he was saying. We have our assemblies. We have one for our homecoming game. For that, we have a kind of student bonding activity where you have to work together. We're still kind of working on the game, but right now we're leaning towards like a three-legged race. So we have partners that, like, we'll get them from different, kind of tables to kind of help people, I guess, more bond together that they might not know. So that'll help them in our team building.
And more on the assembly, we add on what Noah said about the game. We want to choose kids that aren't really popular, if you say, and that don't really interact with students, just to really, notice the kids. I mean, some kids are, left out in assemblies because if you put a student to it, and they'll just go pick someone popular in the class, and there's different classes. So they'll do senior class, sophomore class, freshman class. So it's there'll be a freshman kid, he picks a popular freshman. We want to reach the kids that we don't really interact with, so they're more comfortable, safe, and interact.
You have some?
Yeah, not quite a year ago, I attended a learning session that White Pine County did, and they had Hope Squad members there, and they talked about what they were doing. So I was excited to learn, asked from Superintendent Parsons after that, is that something we're considering? And he said, we absolutely are in the process of doing that. So I look forward to seeing what you do, and as you build community relationships to make this a community, so that we have a community support. I was in a meeting today where with members from different states, and they were talking about the work that needs to be done for students and what people think need to be done with students. But the challenge we face is there aren't people who are willing to step up to do the work. And so I appreciate that even though you're nominated, you're here and you're actively participating. So we appreciate those who are willing to step up and do the work, because there's a lot of things that need to be done, but we need so many people to help do that work. And so thank you so much for participating, and we look forward to watching what you do.
Absolutely. And social media is a big part of teenagers' life now, so that's something that we're trying to work hard to get approval of. But not only that, we're also trying to go more just school-based, right? We're making posters pretty much every day. We're trying to get those up. We're also going to be at our games. We're making T-shirts, and we're trying to do bracelets along with the business cards. So we're going to try to sell those things to kids so they can represent Hope Squad, get our names more out there. Even if it's not on social media, we're trying to do it in person. We're just trying to get as much coverage for the school as we can.
Else have anything? Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
I would also like to add, visually, so just in general, we are all from different backgrounds and certain groups, and obviously, we are from popular to silent, athlete to blog, like just in general, where we try to get everyone in there. And it's not just because we want a range of diversity, just naturally, Hope Squad and most of us has already came out and just we have a reach farther than any Instagram posters or anything could just from existing as we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You just kind of described the school board when you were describing it. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you around soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, President Malkovich, members of the board, Superintendent Parson, and guests. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about Hope Squad today.
Okay, moving on to F, Superintendent Update. Written report was provided. Do you have any questions on his written report? Okay, G, Superintendent Quarterly Update. Okay, go ahead.
So Daryl, this is just in regard to the information you provided on the transportation.
Uh-huh.
So I'm, glad to hear that our waiting list was reduced from 368 to 178, and that you guys have been working through that. Do you recall, you won't know the number just straight off the top of your head, like where we were sitting with our waiting list last year as compared to where we are now? Like, are we seeing, is there an increase? Are there more kids on the waiting list now than there were last year?
We have a couple less buses than we did last year.
Mm-hmm.
I could look back and see. We did have a lot of issues at the beginning of school with the waiting list, and we had some of the same things that we've gone through this year, well, last year. And it took a little while to get things sorted out. We did have some different groups. We're doing a few things to help out. It does seem to me that we're able to get that down fairly quickly, even though we're running through buses, but we're routing them at capacity. So, and then people that didn't show up, that had signed up that weren't actively writing, we moved them and put them back to the list or have them there so that we know they applied to, because after attempts to contact them and make sure, because we don't want to think that they're on there, but so we've done that. But so it's similar, but we have been able to get it down really quick.
But we have less buses running. Less buses. Because we are short on drivers.
We're short on drivers. We have, and as it always seems to cycle, there's always a couple that are out extended periods and stuff, like, for a month or longer for various things and stuff, and we run into that. We have two drivers that are what we call standby drivers, but they fill in for the other drivers that aren't there. So we don't really have the ability to add another route with them, because we just don't have substitute drivers. And so at some point we're hoping to do that. We are actively recruiting, as I put on there. We see a social media campaign going on with it for drivers. We have had more applicants, so we do have some interviews coming up. You do see some on the personnel action tonight, training and with the trainer, so we're hoping to soon not have anyone on the wait list. It did go up. We had a few families that have applied and increased our wait list since I wrote this, since this was provided on Friday, so we're up about 10 more students on the wait list right now than we were then. But as it is, we're monitoring it daily and trying to have a fairly accurate count as to the rider who's riding every day.
Thank you.
And we do have, and with that, one way that we help too is we have one route, and it's the in-town route, and our trainer drives that route. It helps get employees' kids between schools and kids to Fallon Youth Club, to CARE, and those programs that are high volume. But we are able to get several kids because pick up, go drop, and you drop a lot of kids at one spot, and it's close.
Right.
So that route's working. The issues that we are dealing with are transportation-related issues, and I know we talk a lot about, like, Haunton and it being landlocked and, you know, different things. And like Newma's one of our best set up, and Sean will tell you, you know, they're at the school site. But I followed the buses one day, and I got stuck over at Newma, because what happens at Newma is you come out and you have, they have to go one of two ways, and then they go down and they all end up on Harrigan there. And if they come out, they're turning left or right, and then they're hitting each other twice. So there's some things that we're trying to work out and see if we can find ways to speed it up. But by transferring those kids to those programs that are high volume of kids, that's one way that helps keep our number of parents that need to pick up down as well. Welcome.
This question might be better suited and related to the chronic absenteeism, but you talk about in here about working very hard to accommodate everyone who wants to ride a bus. Has there ever been any, are schools looking at or considering chronic absenteeism a cause being not being on the bus? Or they're on the wait list? Or?
So we look at it individually. This year we're trying to drill down with chronic absenteeism and see, and we will have a little more. It is mentioned on here, so but part of our discussion will be too what we're looking at, because we want to see the impact that it's having. We have the chronic absenteeism number, so it is a number, it is a data point, but what is its impact with our students? So one question I have is the number of chronically absent students at the high school. How many of those are in danger of not graduating or have low grades? How many of them failing through just fine? Because there is a range in there. So that's one of the things we're working on and drilling the data down, and that's something that we can be looking at with that too. We do, you know, one thing I should also mention is that we do have, we also have some employees like with Title VI and with McKinney-Vento, our students in transition, and they, we have vehicles for those for the Students in Transitions program, and they are also transporting some students and getting them here. So we have other things going as well to help out with that. So, and that is our goal. And so, and I haven't asked the principals this year. Last year I asked them, and we were on the lookout to see if there were kids that weren't coming because they couldn't get here because of no transportation. And there were a couple of instances that we've found solutions for individually. And we have the same thing this year. We've had a couple of instances where there's absolutely no way they can get them to school, and we've been able to find solutions for that. So once it's to our attention that that's happening, that there's just, the family has absolutely no way, and we realize it is their responsibility to get them to school, transportation service, but we realize sometimes that they can't. So we have been able to find solutions on all of those that we're aware of.
Yeah, I think there are potential barriers that oftentimes unknowingly we have to those who are most vulnerable and who might need the service most, whether it's knowledge about the process, language barrier, I mean, just so many things that potentially that need to be considered. So
and that's also one of the, you know, one of the solutions that we always have, that we've discussed a couple of times, is changing our walking zones, increasing those. But my fear is always that if we do that, we're going to see either an increase in tardiness or a decrease in attendance as well. So we're trying to make it work without doing that. But we are transporting, you know, right now we're at 1,300 students. Last year we were at 1,500, so that's approaching half of our student population on buses every day. I don't know how that compares with other districts. I don't know, because we're unique, but that's a lot.
Any other questions on superintendent update? Then we'll go down to superintendent quarterly update on goals and performance written per vote. Any questions, Superintendent Parsons, on that? Okay, and Superintendent Parsons' update on district-related matters.
Right, thank you. appreciate, as you're aware, we've already seen to it already that this is Suicide Prevention Month, so we're very glad to be able to have Hope Squad and another agenda item that will address that. Today was also Constitution Day. So Constitution Day is, we're required that all schools that receive federal funding do activities on this day for the Constitution or during this week, but we were able to do them today. I think all of our schools accomplished that. A few of the things that happened is NUMA had a preamble scramble, what I told Sean, and an escape room, Constitution Day activity. I know the middle school had a lesson library that all the social studies classes attended, and I wasn't able to get all the things at every school, but I know things were happening at every school. And if anyone, the principals that are here, had some cool activities and they wanted to say a little bit about those, you can. Feel free. I won't mention those, but I think it's an exciting day to do that. We do keep track of what happened. The principals submit the things that are happening at their school, and we keep a record of that so that we have data to show that we supported that and we accomplished it. A lot of activities were available. I wanted to give the board an update at the last meeting. The board directed, and we've been working on a statement with local law enforcement agencies. That is very close. We've been going back and forth on some languages, and so we're almost there. Should have that out soon. Just with so many involved, it's taking a little bit of time, but there's support for that, and it's getting very close. So we've been working hard on that. I also wanted to say we knew that at the time of the posting of the agenda that the star ratings would be released on Monday. So we don't have an agenda item for that, but I feel that it's appropriate under superintendent's update to mention that. There was a release sent out. There's copies of it that are up there. So with our schools, we did see some improvement and some growth. The state is having technical issues still with their attack that they had. So the data is not released yet. It's a tiered release. On Monday, a list of the star ratings was released. Later, hopefully by the end of September, the other supporting data will be released. I do have some data that in the October workshop, we'll have that all prepared, and you'll have the details of the data, whether it's confirmed with the state or not, doesn't matter. We have almost all of it that we need to be able to bring that to the board. I do have some highlights for tonight, though, that I'd like to share out about our schools. And it's mostly good news, but Churchill County High School. Churchill County High School was a 2-star school, and they're now rated a 3-star school. We want to congratulate them for movement on the star scale. Some of the highlights, what happened with Churchill County High School, is they increased the percentage of students considered proficient in science. They met all the participation requirements for assessments. There was a small decrease in chronic absenteeism. They increased the graduation rate during the 23-24 school year. And they increased participation and completion in college and career readiness indicators, CTE and dual enrollment. And they increased the percentage of advanced or career college readiness diplomas. So those were highlights that were mentioned on our individual things for each school. And so that was a lot of good work. I will say the one thing, we did see an increase in science. I don't want to sound negative, because I'm very happy that we have some growth. This is good. We didn't necessarily ascertain much academic growth, but we're hoping that this is the second year we've implemented some things stronger, that we start seeing that. So the growth was from some other areas, which are all as well as important too. The high school exceeded their goal. They had, can't remember how many points, but they had quite a few points to go to get 2 3-stars, and so they were able to do that. So that was good that happened. And okay, Churchill County Middle School. Although the middle school did not increase, they're still a 1-star school. They did increase their index score by 5 points, which was a pretty good rise in points. They're within, I think I had a conversation with Principal Preda, they're within striking distance of a star increase after this year. Do that now. They slightly increased the percentage of students considered proficient in English language arts. They did see some growth, a very slight growth in that. They increased in the percentage of English language proficiency students. They decreased their chronic absenteeism rate. and they increased the amount of students who met the requirements for 8th grade credits. So we know we have room in all those areas, but they did increase in those areas. So that's good work for them. Even though the star didn't go up, the needle is moving in the direction it's supposed to be moving for them. Numa Elementary School. So our overall star increase from Numa went from 1 star to 2 star. They slightly increased the percentage of students considered proficient in English language arts. They decreased their chronic absenteeism. They increased the percentage of students who made adequate growth in English language arts. And they increased the percentage of students who closed the opportunity gaps in English language arts, areas that are scored. So good job for Numa. That was great to see that. So we had 4 stars between all of our schools. Now we now have 6 stars. So that's a 50% increase in our stars. So we're glad to see that after in a few years that we're starting to see some movement. So I just want to express how proud I am and the hard work for everyone. Changing these things takes time. The board has enacted policies. The principals have worked very hard. The teachers have worked very hard. All the staff are working very hard to do that. All the support staff and everyone with their kids to make learning our priority for what we're doing. And that's, I feel confident we're going to continue to see things like this. EC Best and Lahontan are not rated. EC Best, their index score did go down just a slight amount. So we've had that conversation. Principal Barton's got some things in place working because we want to see that change as well. And we know that they've been working hard and doing lots of things for that. Lahontan Elementary, they did increase the percentage of students considered proficient in English language arts, and they did increase their chronic absenteeism. So even though they don't get a star rating, they do get points assigned to them for the things that are there, but they don't. Lahontan doesn't get anything for achievement assessment because they're not assessed. EC Best doesn't get it points for 3rd grade at the end of year assessments with that. So that's where those come from. So as a system, we've been looking at those. We will have that data in more detail for the board in the October board retreat. We'll be a part of that and more for the October meeting with that and more things. I did say, I think is it okay if I just did mention I did give you an updated progress report. And I did say on there that we would provide more data at the board meeting. Haven't been able to get all of that data. I will, as part of this, talking about our star ratings, just give you that the graduation rates won't be available for this last school year, probably till late December. Our graduation rates, we have till September 30th for students to graduate for the cohorts and count as a graduate. In addition, many of the things that are measured from the state are delayed currently because of their computer issues, their virus issue. We even found out that our count day of October 1st, which is our federal count day, is delayed. There's just lots of things that they can't get their systems all back up and running at once. And the other data point that we do have is our average daily attendance rate for the district. Our estimate, because we don't have it officially from the state yet, was 93.69%, which was an increase over 92.9%. So we're fairly confident that that number could be a little bit different, but it will increase our daily attendance rate. So that's a good sign. I mean, that's 93% of our kids, or over 93% are at school every day. And that's very good. And then we don't have state data, but we've exceeded the state average with that, I'm sure. And we weren't able to get the individual scores as far as the district levels on the reading and language arts like we had hoped we would be able to by tonight, but we will have those coming out soon. The state's working on it for us, but how they provide us the data, we couldn't ascertain that. And the one other area that we're still working on getting data from the state is our CTE completers. It's included in the stuff in there, but they couldn't give us the number that's assigned to us because of their systems issues. It doesn't show up on their spreadsheet that has about 120 different columns on it. It doesn't show up directly on that, but it's a factor in there. So we're still working on that, and the state has been very helpful working within what they're able to because of their systems shutdowns that they've had going. Okay, so with that was exciting to see that we have a star rating increase. We'll keep going with that and continue doing the things that we're doing to see increases. And I hope that they, everyone told their staff, good work, keep working hard. Progress is being made. When you takes a lot to start seeing progress, but I just hope that we're heading in the right direction. That progress will keep going fast. That is all I have for tonight. So thank you.
I did have a question about the CTE completers. Can you remind me which year did they change it from 3-year to 2-year?
I think they did. You know, Tim, was that last year or the year before? And on that, while he's going up, we did have a discussion at the superintendent's meeting with Dr. Canavero that, and they reworked some stuff because there were some rural districts that they changed some of the things that counted towards that as county as completers. And it was some things that some districts were doing. I don't think it affected us. It doesn't appear to. But the state actually had eliminated some things that they didn't count as completers because they didn't lead them into a direct career path, like it wasn't a career path for it. Like CPR was one, where some of them, though, and OSHA is another one that they were doing that are requirements, and they're very big in their communities, such as ELCO. So they've also are reevaluating that, and they've already changed some of them. So they can't, so they don't necessarily have to be like, this is a job path to be an OSHA person. But OSHA is a requirement in a CT path, so they're allowing more of that to count. They did a review, they marked a bunch of stuff off, they sent it out for feedback, got their feedback, so they're reviewing again and checking some boxes and leaving them, sounds like. Tim?
It wasn't a one shot for that, so over the past several years, programs have been phased out from 3 to 2. So all the programs that we have at the high school are now 2-year programs.
Okay.
I believe there might still be some out there that are 3-year, but nothing that we were offering.
Okay. Thank you.
And one thing that we still don't have clarity on yet, but they were looking at some funding, and the funding was going to be tied to 2-year completers. Rather than number of students in a course. And they were going to tie it to the 2-year completers, which I argued against that. And, you know, student might take a course for the 1 year and decide that's not their route, but they're still getting CTE experience and things. So if we're not going to fund that, then we're going to be wanting to push everyone into 2-year programs for funding. And I understand the necessity of completing, because that's good. But also knowing that we want to encourage them to participate in things that are of interest to them. If it is not of interest and they don't want to take it anymore, we don't want to put them in there just because we need it for funding. Not a finalized thing yet as far as I know, but we don't have clarity and direction on that yet, but we're working on that, and that should be for like additional grant things and stuff is what it sounds like. That's discussion that we're still having, trying to get the guidance from.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then move on to business services update. A, budget tax report. Any questions on that report? Have we written? Okay, B, update regarding other business items. Amanda Hamm.
So just a couple of quick things. Patty Stoddard in our office gave her official notice that she's retiring December 31st of this year, which is a bummer. That's going to be some big shoes to fill. So we've had a job posting go out for an accounting technician. Don't think we've received any applicants yet, but hopeful for someone good. The fiscal year 25 audit is in full swing. This year we have 2 auditors on site, which has been really helpful to questions answered in a timely manner and work together with the things that they need. I spoke with them this evening, and I think we're going to be on track to meet that October deadline, so that's good. Hopefully no extensions. And just to follow up with Trustee Getch, I looked into that report that does not include the encumbrances. It is kind of a manual report that Christy did, so I'm going to
work to see if Tyler can maybe make us a canned report so that it's easier to pull.
I know a number of months back, when I had started requesting that last year, I don't know if you can look at, I mean, it was part of the board books, so you could look back and see, because Tyler does have a way of doing that, where they can omit the encumbrances. And so, I don't know, maybe it would be helpful to look back at like one of the prior board packets where it's included in there.
Yeah, Terry and I got together and found those reports.
Okay.
It kind of looks like maybe she exported them and deleted the column, but I still need to do some more research, probably after the audit's over when I have some time to dive into it and really figure it out. So it's still on my radar.
Can I just add something to it? I commend Amanda. She's a new comptroller coming in, and she's been preparing for an audit of work that she didn't do. And she's had to do a lot with that, but it's gone very well. As long as the light's on, the auditors are still in there tonight, but it's gone very well, and there's been a lot of work. I don't want to underscore that there's been a lot of work and time into the preparation for the audit, but it is, as she said, on track and was to be completed, and the data was good for them. So that's kudos, good job.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? And we will move on. Upcoming board events, we have the Nevada one coming up in December, then the national one April 10th. Moving on to consent agenda. Possible action items may be pulled for discussion. A, approval of recommended personnel action. B, approval of vouchers. C, approval of August payroll. D, acceptance of the budget transfer report and authorization to record budget transfers between functions or programs for the general fund for the period of 8/1/2025 through 8/31/2025 as required by NRS 354.598005. Approval of Churchill County High School Track and Field Holiday Wreath Fundraiser. F, review of policy 6163.0, American Indian Education changes. Title, review of regulation 6163, procedures for implementation, American Indian Education. G, review of regulation 6163, Indian policies and procedures. There was no changes. H, approval to accept $10,000 from Gemini in support of STEM CTE focused programs and equipment. I, policies, second reading for approval, policy 2121.0, superintendent's evaluation. For review, regulation 6100, curriculum and delivery of instruction. 3, for review, regulation 6100.1, instructional consultation. 4, for review, regulation 6101.0, instructional program and design. 5, for review, regulation 6300.0, text adoption. And 6, for approval, policy 8140.0, for board committees.
I just want to make one quick comment and publicly acknowledge the local businesses that contribute so much to our district, such as Gemini and other businesses, how much it's appreciated by the district.
I move to approve consent agenda items A, B.
I think we need to pull one.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Can we please pull agenda item 10F and 10G? There's a few changes that need to be made.
Okay, so we'll pull 10F and 10G. Do you want to do the motion for the rest and come back to that? You want to do the 10F and G? Do you want to do that right now? If that's the changes that you need to be made. So I think she can just read that in for the record, can't she? Since it's you. We'll have to prove it with the change.
We need discussion.
So do you want to tell us what you have for changes?
Words on the second and fourth Wednesday for the regulation that we approve, regulation 10G, policy and procedures wording, FY twenty-five is listed instead of FY twenty-six. So 10F is
Basically, we're getting rid of
meeting,
meetings, and then it just changes the year.
10G is the year.
Can I add, so after it was up, so I said there are two things that need changing. The one was you said with the board meeting change, that's been a part of that, but we don't meet every two times a month like that on the same Wednesdays each month. And then we miss FY 26. So even though they are regulation, they have to be approved by the board for these, for the impact aid and for Title VI. So if the board directs that change in regulation, we can do that. We would do that afterwards anyways, but then it would be approved by the board with those changes.
So we should be able to make the motion with the changes mentioned.
So it's just in 10F and is it in F too, or the regulation also? Move to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, and F with recommended changes, and G with recommended changes, H and I.
I have a motion by Trustee Whitaker, a second by Trustee McFadden. Is there any public comment or more comments on that? Okay, call for vote. All in favor? It is unanimous. Reports by board member. Let's go ahead and start on this end tonight.
I don't have anything too exciting. I was able, of course, he picks me on the day that there's not a lot going on. I just want to note that. Last week, though, I did get to go spend some time at the high school with Dean Brasden. I spent an entire lunch hour over there, and it was nice. She kind of walked me around to a few of the classrooms, and I saw a lot of the kids that I know, and it was just nice to be there and be out while they are all out also, circulating, you know, the campus, and it was a great visit. So I encourage everyone to do the same. Lunch hour.
Thank you, Trustee Garlick. Nothing, Trustee Blakey.
Wendy and I attended a Zoom training on public records request, and we also attended professional development training on conflict resolution and de-escalation skills in Las Vegas through the NASB, and then I also attended the suicide prevention proclamation in Fountain Dying on Saturday.
Thank you, Trustee Gatto.
I also was able to attend the training in Vegas on conflict resolution. It was kind of a lot of one-on-one. Not my favorite thing, but it makes you step out of your box and kind of realize who you are and get to know one another better, just how you handle certain. It was good.
Whitaker?
So when I attended the NASB board meeting, I'll let him report on that, but I spent 4 days last week in Los Angeles at national board meetings, and then CUBE conference. CUBE stands for the Council of Urban Boards of Education. I will submit a written report for our next board meeting for that, but some just key takeaways for the national board meeting. We've hired we have not had, the National Association has hired a third-party advocacy group, lobbying group, and though we will maintain that partnership, we now have hired someone in-house to help build relationships on the Hill to help magnify the issues that we approve yearly in our resolutions. And as a reminder that the National School Boards Association is the only national association that represents school boards legally, with the amicus briefs that they submit for state associations and local school boards as well. So it's the only national association that does that work, in addition to the training that they provide and the advocacy work with federal legislation. So those are just some key takeaways. And I got to visit Compton High School. So that was actually great because they have a brand new, they've only been in it 3 weeks, high school, and it is a beautiful campus. But I got a shirt. I gave everyone shirts that say straight into Compton. So maybe I'll have to wear that to a board meeting. It was strictly student-led. Had an opportunity to visit with a lot of the students at Compton High School. Anyway, fascinating. I could tell you all kinds of things about that, but I'll refrain from any more. And just as a reminder, because I'm on National School Board, this is not funded by Churchill County School District. This is funded by the national. So, be clear about that.
Thank you. Commissioner McFadden?
Yes, we had the NASB director meeting. We renewed some contracts for the executive director and business manager. We reviewed some legislative initiatives. I just want to put a plug in there that NASB is always looking for sponsorships to help the program. So if anyone knows any businesses that would like to give more money than they already do, NASB would be happy to take it. I also wanted to mention that I was nominated to the state school board position that Mr. Walker was leaving. The governor ended up picking or appointing Susan Neal from Elko for it, though. So congratulations to her.
Thank you. I just got back today from the Athletic Administrators Conference in Vegas for last. It's a unique group of people. Everybody should get in a room with a bunch of administrators of athletics. And go back today. I have to fly back down to Vegas on Tuesday, Wednesday for the board meeting. I'm spending my Sky Miles, and once again, that is not funded by us. It's funded by NIAA. But it's kind of funny because there's California, it was Western states, 13 Western states, and California is being sued like crazy on transfer policy. And we got to hope that they do not lose some of those lawsuits, or otherwise students are going to be able to go. 7, 8 students at a time could transfer to a school. They could change a basketball team totally. And you go as far as North Dakota, you wouldn't think they'd have that problem, but they have the same problems in North Dakota as they do in California. So just kind of one to keep an eye on. It's, I bet you California has 20 lawsuits going on just on people transferring. They're taking a whole team to a school. So they change the team, and then think about it, if your kid was there, your student, what are they going to do? They're not going to be able to, they're going to have to transfer to the other school. It has the bad team. It was just, it's kind of an interesting one to follow. And that's about it. So we'll move on to 12, new business. For discussion and possible action, the Board of Trustees will take action to approve or not approve early retirement incentives under Policy 4811, classified license and other employees in the 2025-2026 school year. And that's me. So this is the one we have to approve every September, whether we're going to do buyouts or not. Buyouts make no sense right now because we're short employees, and we have employees that if we bought them out, we'd be hiring them back the following year. So it really does no sense. So I will take any questions you have on it, or if not, I'm looking for a motion to not approve early retirement incentives.
I move to not approve early retirement incentives under Policy 4811.0 for classified licensed and other employees in 2026.
Motion from Trustee Whitaker, second from Trustee Ghetto. Is there any public comment? Any comment at all on this one? Okay, then I'll call for a vote to not approve. Who is in favor of not approving it? It is unanimous. Seems like a backwards motion, but it works. Okay, moving on to B for discussion and possible action. Presentation on the Leadership Excellence and Development LEAD project aimed at developing leadership capacity through Churchill County School District. Jennifer John.
Good evening, Jennifer Jahant, Churchill County School District Teacher on Special Assignment through Northwestern Regional Professional Development Program. So tonight, I know it's been something that the Board of Trustees has been interested in Superintendent Parsons, reinvigorating a Grow Your Own program for Churchill County School District. So in partnership with in partnership with RPDP, Kristen Campbell works out of Washoe County and has 10 years of experience in leadership instruction with teachers and administrators and has been doing cohorts in Washoe for years and in Carson. So I've corralled her into Churchill. I have a lot of leadership experience in the private sector, Massachusetts, but she's got extensive knowledge training in the education sector. So she's come in and we have put together a cohort for Churchill County. Part of this came from Superintendent Parsons, developing leadership capacity throughout our district for future success. So part of what we were looking at is not only people who are looking to move into administration, but looking for teacher leaders inside the building. Our administrators are amazing. There's not enough of them to do all of the amazing work that needs to be done in a school system. They are so overwhelmingly busy. So part of it is to help nurture people who want to move into those positions, but additionally it's to help create capacity amongst other teacher leaders to take on some of those projects. So the RPDP connection, in addition to Kristen coming out to Churchill 2 Tuesdays a month throughout this school year to help facilitate this coursework, we're also looking to package what we're doing here in Churchill County and spread it out to other small districts who don't have programs like this. One of the things that RPDP does is, since we work regionally, and all 3 of the RPDPs statewide work together on projects, is to share information. So there's a lot that we get from Southern RPDP, from things in the Northeast, from Annie, and now this is something that we're working on for Northwestern RPDP that we would potentially then move forward, obviously with some modification, but as we build out the course, we're putting in some instructional notes for other educators to potentially take this on in other districts, again with modifications. Our profile of the learner, first one, is ours and only ours. So the things that we're putting in there throughout this course that address things for Churchill in regards to that would not necessarily be relevant to other places, but they've got their own messaging that they would then substitute. So we're looking for practical skills. The goal is to have enough theory in there to have quality explanation, but really give people some practical skills and meaningful connections and growth opportunities. And Superintendent Parsons came to the first meeting last week. One of the things that he indicated to the people in the room is if they have passion projects, if they see opportunities for growth, opportunities for leadership, being a part of this cohort in Churchill County is giving them a direct line to the superintendent's office to try and help exercise getting those projects on the move. So the logistics, it's 45 hours outside of the class of normal contract time. There's 17 meetings through the course of the year. We started last week, we'll end in May. So it's basically 2 Tuesdays a month, and then they'll do additional work outside of that. A case study will be required on a group of people that they currently work with. So a PLC group, a department, grade level team, they're on some kind of a committee at their school site. They have to look at a team that's already in existence, determine if the team is operating with good functionality, and if it's not, where the opportunities for improvement would come. That's where the case study ends. There's no requirement that they move forward with implementing any changes they see. Again, we're not looking at necessarily people who want to move into administration that would have the desire to try and exercise that. We're looking at people to try and build capacity and recognize where teams could be more effective and efficient and kind of make those changes personally, but not put peers in a position to flex on peers what they don't have any authority over. They'll get 3 PD credits. They'll be good for CEUs and good for salary advancement since they are outside of contract time. Additionally, if people want to take on a larger project, they have the opportunity to earn more hours. So interactive workshops, there won't be a lot of this in the workshop, somebody getting talked at. It's not a sit and get environment. There'll be some information provided, obviously, but then there's a lot of collaborative work that will take place inside of the room. There's tons of reading that we're going to either be giving them excerpts or articles and things that are as contemporary as we can find. Five Functions of a Team by Pat Lencioni, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, The Science of Hope from Jamie Mead, Adam Grant, and basically his entire catalog of work. Jennifer Abrams has a book simply called Hard Conversations, moving in that direction so that people become more effective. The list of books is as tall as I am. We're really looking to turn theory into action, so helping empower people to say, okay, here's this really cool information that we've gathered. What does that look like when you're sitting in a room of individuals? And a lot of what we're doing in terms of homework assignments and follow-up is reflecting on what's working and not working in their own systems, how they're working as part of an effective being an effective team member, and how they can improve on that. The expectations, they have to come. It's a very hard conversation to have if you're not in the room. And then, of course, participation, and then I had already indicated the case study. In addition to the case study, there'll be lots of scenarios that we walk through. I mentioned Jennifer Abrams' Hard Conversations book. There'll be practicing of hard conversations, having to walk through those steps of how do you approach someone when it's a difficult topic and people can be defensive? How do you approach them with grace? Make sure that you're continuing to provide dignity for them, but have the discussion about something that needs to change and take place. So, haven't read The 5 Dysfunctions by Pat Lencioni. I highly, highly recommend it. This is kind of what we selected as our North Star to guide us through the course. As we go through 17 classes and our topics kind of ebb and flow throughout those days, we want to make sure that we're always looking back at what we want to be doing. The way that Lencioni frames it in his book is the dysfunctions of a team. This visual kind of builds you through from going to the negative place to a positive place. So from guardedness to building trust to having openness, ultimately so that there's collective success and we're achieving the things that we want to achieve and all the steps in between. So as we go through all of the course, this is where we will come back to thinking about how you build trust, resolve conflict, how you commit to something that you're doing. The district can tell everyone, the administrators can tell everyone, but if everybody who's on the team isn't committed to achieving those goals, and it's lip service that there's being served. So how do we build that capacity that teamwork is more valuable in success, and I think sometimes people give it credit for, seems to be regarded in an athletic space very frequently, but teams are what make stronger your department, the stronger your PLC, the stronger your staff, the better they work together, the more cross-curricular cool stuff can happen, the more our test scores go up, the more our students succeed. Like every single aspect of this goes back to trying to build capacity with the people in this room to do projects or for themselves to recognize how they can be better at this and grow into those kind of roles. So we have 3 modules that we're going through. The first one is trust. Going back to the idea of in order to be vulnerable, in order to have conversations, in order to have a strong, heated debate, there has to be an ability to be vulnerable in a room. And how do we create those spaces? How do we create a department meeting where people can speak freely? And how do we empower people to have that skill set? So the first thing that we're going through, we went through the Science of Hope last week. This week we're going to be doing Brené's Bound Container Building or Amy Edmondson's Psychological Safety. How do we create that space, build trust, so that we can have bigger conversations? Module 2 is Leadership Through Collaborative Structures and Systems. We'll be looking then at first and second order change, how people can kind of move things in a different direction, and how you get people to sign on for change. In general, people don't like. It's unnerving, it's unsettling. People are scared. I know how to do this. You want me to shift to do this. I don't know how to do that. What if I'm not successful? Teachers get anxious about change because teachers thrive on being successful and making their kids successful. So change it creates anxiety. Have something we know we like that works. We're being asked to move. How do we help facilitate those changes? How do we help people understand the value of them? How do we help people take steps to move? Third module is around community building and inclusive leadership practices. So how do we extend leadership past those spaces that we're creating in our buildings, to be inclusive in our community, to make sure that we're reaching out to families effectively, to make sure that all stakeholders are being included in the conversation that is education and church. So, kind of the big picture. Here's like a tiny snapshot of what's happened already. So we had session 1 last week. We read an article around the science of hope, which is not the best description, but it's kind of the reciprocal of trauma. So when we talk about trauma and how that can diminish anyone's capacity to think effectively or to learn in a classroom, hope is kind of the opposite. It gives you the opportunity for goal setting, to step forward and move forward. And so with the idea that we want this cohort to do something like that, where we started. As we did that, one of the outcomes that we wanted is how can you use what you've learned about the science of hope in your context? Do you recognize that having this kind of an attitude and this kind of a growth mindset is something that's going to encourage a positive working environment, great morale with your peers and in your classroom? So some of the comments that we got back from the first class, there was 21 people attended from PK through the high school. We have a couple of current administrators and teachers from every grade level, every building. So they overall loved the group discussion. Like I said, there won't be a lot of this. They like the group discussions, the conversation, collaborating with others, time to work together and discuss what we read to learn from one another. The class participants are motivated. The discussion was healthy. So I'm glad. In terms of it being reflective in a practical application space, their homework to come back for next Tuesday's class was to take an inventory of existing structures in their work environments. So schools are communities where individuals interact with one another. What rules of engagement are in place for how these groups interact? So again, looking at committees they might be on, grade level teams, PLC teams. As they take a look at that, they're going to come back. There was an analysis sheet of what did they have, what did they see that was working, what are some things that could be implemented differently. And then give them an opportunity for questions. And then every class will end with some reflection questions regarding what the instructional content was for that day. Ultimately, this will be one of the research projects that's done in the RPDP report at the end of the year, which everyone should read this year. They advocated to take it away from case studies, and it's all infographics. Actually pretty cool and very user-friendly. So this will be the Churchill County lead cohort will end up being in the RPDP research report for the end of this school year. So at the end of every class, we're asking reflective questions to see if people have Catherine has a question.
I keep making this meeting longer. I appreciate, number one, Daryl, for leading. This is something we've discussed a long time about helping to grow our own and build capacity within our own district, because we saw a need. So I appreciate the work that you and your team, whoever is involved, has done for this, and I appreciate the review, the overview. Something that I've been thinking about since I've reviewed it, and then now since you've shared, is I recognize that leaders, site-level leaders, the day-to-day work is definitely with their staff community. And you referenced that their schools and their community. But one of my concerns is schools do not understand that the district is their community. We spend a lot of time here setting goals, developing policy, and trying to understand how to best support students, which is our goal. But all too often it feels that people misunderstand or by choice don't want to understand how district functions and how district leadership and board leadership plays into the work that they're doing, and that they are part of that team too. And maybe we need the training on how to be a better team with our schools. But I didn't hear any of that as part of this.
I think that overall we're looking at district initiatives, and like I said, profile will be embedded in what we're doing with intention. And I think as far as the idea of the overarching district space, that's part of one of the things I'm really excited about, is there are people in there from buildings all over the community. So I think that sometimes we get very siloed because, I mean, it doesn't help that grade level wise, like, we're only living in our own little zone because of the way, and it wouldn't matter even if we had K-5s, then maybe the K-5s would be a little bit more, but secondary would still be siloed because there's not anybody else to collaborate with that understands my student group. And I think that having everybody in the room together, I think it will help kind of spread the idea of what the district is trying to achieve, and that's sort of the capacity that we're kind of hoping to build, right? Is that we'll have people who have a better understanding of a global space, that they can be more effective leaders and support things inside of their regular learning community. It's definitely wasn't iterated in my little conversation, but it is definitely part of what we're working to achieve.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I could like to add to that too, and she's totally right. And one of the things that we're trying to do there is there will be opportunities this year for those that are in this cohort and for others too, because we realize this is a group that we're trying to bring in, get leadership skills out within the schools, but utilize and do that and make that connection with the district and the schools a lot stronger as it needs to be. And there will be opportunities for committees that the superintendent will organize, the superintendent committees, different things that need to be looked at, and I don't know if evaluate is the right word, but worked on and things throughout the year, and they'll have the opportunity to participate in those. And there'll be some others so that we can start to connect that work more seen on a school level rather than just school administrator brings it back, which they do a great job. They bring that stuff back, but so that we have more people involved with some of those things, because that's one of the things that we've discussed before, is that ownership in things that are done, because you know, sometimes it's, oh, that's what the district says we have to do, and there's no ownership, or the district created that. But the district as a whole, when we say the district, that means everybody in the district. And oftentimes there's opportunities to participate in those things, and it's not maybe known, or it's missed, or it just wasn't taken advantage of. So we're trying to increase some of those opportunities and get that awareness and get some of these people. And that was what was really cool about in this first one, though, is that we had a range in there. We had current school administrators in there, as well as, you know, teachers, and some that, and I know some of them, they're not planning, but they want to be teacher leaders. And really that work at the schools will just intensify with teacher leaders doing it and taking the lead and running a lot of those discussions and doing things. And Jennifer had mentioned in the program that there was an opportunity they might have to earn more credits. But one of the things that we can do is that people prepare to teach other people things, is they prepare to teach them some of the skills or things that are good for them, and that they can actually earn credit by preparing and teaching a class. Earn hours that count as credits. That's part of the professional development guidance from the state, and that we would do so. We're promoting that this year. We're looking to have a lot more classes that are taught by our staff. Part of that to promote some of those skills, rather than everybody going in and saying, this is how you're supposed to do it. But you're doing it and it's working well, so how are you doing it and presenting, and not just this is what I'm doing, but what's the science behind it, what's the research behind it, why are you doing it, and how's your data shaping the results? You know, how are the results shape, or how does the data show your results? It's shaping that. So trying to get that part of that process should make some of that happen. That's what we're really trying to do with it, and that's one of our big pushes on that. And with this group, they'll have that opportunity to create and teach classes. I know when I started early on, one of the first things that I did, and as a new teacher, it was to earn extra money. I'll admit that's why I did it. But we had a thing, it was through UNR, it was called CNETC, Central Nevada Educational Technology Consortium. And my second job was teaching teachers about technology. Kind of funny, because I've seen way behind the teachers now, but at that point in time, that was what I did, and I was up on it. I was a new teacher. I was very excited about it, and I learned so much by doing that, and I learned so much from the teachers that I taught. And I remember one of the first smart board that was used in a classroom in the district was in Russ Frost's classroom, and I wheeled it in there on wheels. RPDP had it stored at West End. They had bought one, and on wheels, and we put a computer, a desktop computer, on a cart, on one of those library carts, and we wheeled it in there and hooked all the wires up, and we did some geography activities that we were able to set up on the internet through that with a smart board. I mean, technology has changed so much in that time, but I learned a lot, so we're hoping to provide those same opportunities, because I think that really helped me become a better teacher, because if I'm teaching something, I had to be good at it and knowledgeable and understand why I was doing it. So we want to provide those same opportunities for staff. I am very excited about this, and it was a very positive experience in there. I didn't stay in the whole time because I don't want them to be like, oh, we can't talk. They can, but every time I came back, they were collaborating, interacting, and it was really good. So if you ever want to sit in on one, I'm sure we can do that, but we'll keep you updated as we go throughout the year.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody good? Keep moving? Yeah. Okay, so moving on to C. Presentation on chronic absenteeism rates in Churchill County School District. Superintendent Parsons.
All right, thank you, President Malkovich. You'll see in board book that there were 2 pages about chronic absenteeism rates, and it's an update on the rates. In the charts, you'll see the yellow highlighted, and the last column state on the district rate for 24-25. Those are our best estimates. We think they're very accurate, but not confirmed yet by the state. But if there are any changes, it won't be very much. So those are our rates, and again, we've talked about it before, but there's 2 ways where chronic absentee is measured. The Nevada School Performance Framework rate is on the top. That is the rate that is used in our STAR ratings. So that rate is used to give us points within the STAR system. The bottom one is the chronic absenteeism. When you go to Nevada Report Card, those are the numbers that you see, and that is the federal rate. The difference is the top rate takes out absences that are medically excused. So for our STAR ratings, that benefits us. But when the public goes and sees it on Nevada Report Card, they see the federal rate. So I know we've set a goal to decrease our chronic absenteeism, but we want both rates to be down there. We probably have a greater chance to make that goal with the NSPF rate, but really, in all reality, the goal for chronic absenteeism, the reason for the goal is to have students in school more. And so even if the medical notes are good, it's important we will keep doing that because that is essential. But the other goal is, the other number is a more accurate representation of the kids that are in school that aren't chronically absent. As you can see, we've made progress in those areas. And I did list, and so our current chronic absentee rate for the district on 24-25, 21.4%, which is down from 24.2 the year before and 26.5 the year before that. The other data in red, I know we have it written down somewhere, but the state didn't have it available because of the computer systems, and so we'll have that in the future, but we didn't go put that out because for our purposes felt this was enough for tonight. On the other one, you'll see that we've again also went down on the Nevada Report Card rate, 30.3%. Our goal is 20%, so that's still, we still have ways for improvement. And as I wrote in there, we have been going down since our peak in 22-23, and we've been going down, but we do have to increase the rate of decline to make this goal within the Nevada Report Card rate. Each school has different, as you can see within the schools, different levels. The high school running the highest on that rate. They had a decrease this last year, but the year before was an increase. Most of the others went down, and the really cool thing is Lahontan, they had 13.6, but they were at 14% on the Nevada Report Card rate. So we thought that's good. And as you'll also might recall too, last year was the first year where the age level was changed. Last year and the year before, so kindergartners are required to go to school at age 6 now, not 7. So years past, sometimes we have kids that just aren't there until they're a little older. Well, now they're required to be there. So those numbers I'm really pleased with those numbers to see that. And it's also added we're going to continue to put on the monthly principal reports. Once we start getting to the point where students hit the chronic absenteeism mark, they have to miss the 10% in order to make that point. So right now, there shouldn't be any chronically absent students, but as we progress along, a couple months, there will be, and then you'll start seeing that on the monthly principal reports. The schools are continuing to focus on the parent communication, identifying, intervening as defined in our policies and regulations. Our process will continue. Referrals to DCFS and law enforcement will be made for truancy and attendance issues as well. We are, like, and I said, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to study the secondary data to see the connection between chronic absenteeism and school performance, including graduation rates. Sometimes a student is determined chronically absent because maybe an example might be a wedding in the family, and they had to go for a 2-week vacation somewhere for that reason, or something, or they pull them out. But the students make up all their work, they do what's required, they still might be passing quite well. So that, to me, we want to study that data and see how high a percentage that is for us. Because if there is a difference between being chronically absent and not graduating, and chronically absent and graduating, we want to know that effect. So we're going to take and study that data a little bit deeper, get into the finer points, and look at that throughout this year, and just see where we're at, so we know exactly what we're dealing with, other than just we have a high chronically absenteeism. As you know, it's an issue in the entire state, the entire nation, chronic absenteeism, and you hear about it all the time. But I think it's very important to see just how it is impacting us now. It's affecting us, other than just this is our rate, because we really have to know, because our strategies and interventions will be different depending upon why they're absent as well. We did just begin evaluating a program, and Mike's familiar with it. They use it in Lyon County. It's called Hazel Physical Health. So we are bringing, we have paid for by a private donor. We are bringing Hazel Health in for mental health, the ability to see a mental health provider virtually. It's no cost to the district, but it will be available for our students. We're bringing online now. That is in addition to the other things that we are doing. So for at least this year, it will be paid for. Hazel Physical Health, and we may look at it for the company as well. Trying to assess what can we do, because we're talking about we want to decrease our chronic absenteeism, but what can we really do? You know, SARB, we make letters and we call that stuff. So when we thought about this Hazel Health, or a service like that, what happens is the parents sign a waiver. They can actually have access and see a doctor at school through a video connection. Each school would have a cart that would be locked with some different medications that could be distributed because it's authorized by a doctor. Parents would have access to this at home before school. If their child wakes up, they're really not sure, should I take him to school, should I not? They can see one of the medical professionals through Hazel Health. They can tell them, yeah, go to school, don't go to school. I put some of the key points on the data there that made us, as we're looking at it, really think about what it could do. The Hazel Health, their post-visit staff documents indicate that 9 out of 10 students can return to class after a Hazel Health visit. You know, as parents, you probably have all been there at some point in time. Child's not feeling well, you get a call, you go down, do you take them to the doctor, do you not? Bring them home, sometimes it's just something simple, and they were good. You might give them some Tylenol or some ibuprofen, and they're good. Other times, they might need to see a doctor. This can help with that. And when they do meet with someone, the parent can actually join that as well. If they're not down at school, they can actually join that remotely and be a part of that. It is not intended to replace a primary care visit, primary care doctor. It's just intended to look for those things, provide a services beyond what we can do with a school nurse. It would be done with the school nurse there and present in that. So we're looking into that. Cost that we receive for it, we're negotiating with them. It's not a huge amount investment, and the cost that they're giving to us would include unlimited number of visits for our students. So, you could use it 1,000 times over the year, and it wouldn't cost us any more. It's a per student rate for the year. So, from the viewpoint of, and then there's the other data there. 86% of the parents indicate that they reduce missed work or child care. Could be a benefit to our families. I mean, if they can do a medical visit right there, not have to leave work, and can do it and participate in it for small things there, that can help out our families as well. 91% of parents that take the survey recommend Hazel Health to another family. It does require parental consent, and like I said, parents have the option to join remotely when the visit occurs in the nurse office. They wouldn't need to leave work to see a medical provider. The child would not need to leave school. So even if you do, sometimes we'll have children checked out to go see somebody because they're not doing well, come back an hour, 2 hours later, they've missed quite a bit of instructional time by that point. This could reduce that. So we think that there's the potential there, and if we can reduce absenteeism through this, then there's the potential to increase performance in all the other goal areas as well, because we have our students at school more. We know I talked to Chassie today about it, and she's aware of another one, and we don't know the details of them all yet because we're just looking into it. That there's actually, they have instruments where they can listen to the heart and the lungs remotely as well and do those things. So we think that an investment like this, and it looks like we may be able to utilize some grant funds for this that are towards medical things that we might be able to do, so it wouldn't be a cost if we move forward with this necessarily out of general fund at this point. And we're not talking, we're talking less than $20,000 for a year, probably $17,000 for a year, roughly. So if it can help us reach that goal, and if it can decrease our chronic absenteeism, it has the potential there. We don't have any data saying it's a direct link. When you think about what it might do, possible. So we're trying to look for different solutions than we've been doing to try and reduce that. Maybe one. We'll also find out more about districts that are using them already and how that may help them as well. So we're working on that right now. But with our chronic absenteeism, it's a possibility. We're glad to see increases or decreases in our rate, but we have not seen enough yet. So we want to get to that point where it's not a discussion we have to talk about all the time because we've got the rate down to a good level. That's where we're at with that. That update with that information. Have any questions about what's there, or any more thoughts about chronic absenteeism?
Had a quick comment or request for future. I think it would be helpful when the chronic absenteeism information is provided, have the percentage of students that is occurring by. So, like as an example, with the high school, 40.90% on the Nevada report card as the percentage for this last school year. What's the percentage of students that created that 40?
That is 40.9% of the students were chronically absent.
Okay,
so it is a direct number related to the number of students.
I thought we had a discussion about that previously when we were drilling into data on the chronic absenteeism rate and how that was caused, because there was a conversation about how like one student could be, I don't remember exactly how to articulate it, but it seemed kind of confusing, and so then that led me to believe that that's not really 40% of the student population, but you're saying it is?
Yes, so I think I remember the discussion. So once a student hits a chronic absenteeism point, it doesn't go away once they've made that point in the year, unless absences were, well, actually on the lower number it doesn't go away, but that is the percentage of students that met the chronically absent level. So that means that the high school, 40.9% of their students had 10 or more absences for the year.
Just to add on to that data point, that's not a far jump from 50% of our high school population is chronically absent. That is alarming.
Now, I will add, I do need to, this just generated a question in my mind. I do want to go and make sure what they're counting as a day for that, because once you're out of elementary and you start doing it by periods, I can't say for sure that you have to miss an entire day's worth of period to be counted chronically absent. I do believe if you're absent for part of the day, it will count as a chunk of time, not just as one period. So So at the high school and middle school, numbers may, I don't want to say be inflated that way, but they may not be as accurate representation of missed instructional time as the elementary school. So I'll look into that a little bit more. Maybe I can clarify that. Good point. Sorry, Trustee McFadden.
The second thing, your research into this Hazel Health, is your internal data showing that majority of the chronic absenteeism is health-related, or?
That's what we're looking at now. There is, well, I think we can safely say that when you look at the difference between the lower rate and the higher rate on the two charts, the difference is the ones that they were excused by medical providers. So they are, but within that, we also have to take into account, this doesn't mean that everything could be seen by Hazel Health. If you have a pretty serious thing, you're not going to be seen by Hazel Health. You're going to have to go to a doctor. It would have its limitations, or by a service like this that would have its limitations, or or if you're having surgery or something like that, it's not going to change that, but it would make a change for some of those that are, I just don't feel very good. I need to see someone, see if I'm able to stay at school or not.
And I know, personally with younger kids, they wake up, they don't feel good, not going to take them down to ER, you're just going to put some chicken noodle soup in them and let them stay home for the day. You don't get that excused absence.
And we still want to make sure that if they're sick and shouldn't be at school, this isn't an attempt to keep them at school if they're sick, because that just kind of spreads it around. And I was at Northside yesterday, and in a few minutes, somebody came in with a trash can and said, "We got a thrower upper here." So that's just, that's what happens around the little kids at school.
Anybody else have anything on this one? Got to make sure it's farm fresh. I'm going to read the label on the can. So moving on, report regarding Safe Talk suicide prevention training that occurred August 21st and information on future plans. Back to you again.
Thank you. Excuse me. So in your packet, you will see that I did provide the data that Emma White provided us that was in charge of our training that day. And I know we discussed it a little bit because it was prior to the last board meeting, and a couple of trustees were able to attend. I wanted to give you the numbers and things of where we were at. And the Safe Talk was to enhance the knowledge and the skills in suicide prevention, wellness, and related topics. So there's some both quantitative and some qualitative data she provided, but basically we fully trained 346 people, 6.8% completion rate, and that was simply because something did happen, one of them where some people weren't able to finish. But we'll have makeup session available. It was scheduled for September 26th, but it looks like it's not going to happen. So we'll let the trustees know if anyone does want to attend the session. We have the makeup they can. We'll probably have at least 2 makeup sessions to make it work, because the assignments of staff that weren't able to finish it or that didn't make it, we have to work that around so we can make it work. I'll be in one of the makeup sessions because we had issues going. I couldn't attend mine that day. But so we will, our goal is to have 100% of our staff trained. And even if we bring new people on later in the year, we'll have an opportunity for them to be trained as well, and do that. And then with this, we'll be looking, because there's required training every year. I don't think I want to say that we'll do Safe Talk every year, because then it's the same thing every year. There will be different things and stuff to do that. But we do want to have everybody trained with Safe Talk. It's universally accepted. It has good data behind it, and it's very helpful. So even with new people, that will be a component that we plan to continue with. The average rating is on the sessions. Everyone had to rate their session was 4.75 out of 5. There was a 35% increase from the pre and post test in the suicide prevention knowledge. And then 12 participants did request additional resources and follow-up materials of support, and that was provided. Some of the key qualitative data that we had was one of the participants in increasing confidence skills says, "I now feel more prepared to talk openly about suicide with my students." And like I said earlier, when we had Hope Squad here, you know, I really understand and think that, you know, we can't avoid the subject if the subject is there and needs to be talked about. It has to. That's promoting it. By avoiding it, we promote what we're trying to avoid. And so we need to be prepared as adults working with students. We need to have enough knowledge to know what we need to do. That may not mean we're able to solve that situation, and we may not be able to. We very well probably can't on most of them, but we know what we need to look for and what to do and how to get them to someone that can assist with that. The value of interactive activities, and one of them wrote the scenarios felt real and helped me practice what to say. Several participants about the desire for ongoing support said the training was great. They want to dive deeper into advanced intervention techniques. And then on line 4, for cultural language relevance, it was highlighted the need for more Spanish language resources and culturally tailored materials. We'll be working on that. And the trainer experience said the trainers were knowledgeable and approachable, which made a sensitive topic easier to discuss. And then we wrote the 10 training sessions demonstrated strong success in increasing participants' knowledge, skills, confidence, and suicide prevention. Quantitative data shows high attendance, excellent completion rates, and measurable knowledge gains. Qualitative feedback highlights the effectiveness of interactive methods, trainer expertise while identifying areas for growth such as cultural adaptation and ongoing learning opportunities. So we will be continuing to use that data and working to develop other things. I don't have a list of the things that will be happening with the students yet, but I know that's being worked on. Catherine has been working on that with the high school and with some of the other schools on things that will be happening. But I think this was a good step for us to do this. The feedback I've had from everyone that I've talked to about it has been positive. And so I don't see how it can do anything but have a positive impact on our school and our community. And I mentioned this when I spoke with the Hope Squad students last week. You know, we've been working and we've been an integral part of working with our community-wide suicide prevention plan with other agencies and things, and that's all important that we tie this together and bring things together for the support of our students, their families, and the things that go along with that. Any questions for me?
Okay, so let's move on. Board will discuss student recognitions and possible alternatives to presenting awards to students. Superintendent Parsons.
So I was asked, and we thought it would be a good idea to bring it to board discussion. I know last year we had some times where we had varying levels of success in getting students here when we have board recognition. And so I've been asked by a few people about should we look at other ways to do that, perhaps at maybe some other events or something like that. So we thought that would be a good idea to get to the board for discussion and see if there are thoughts or ideas. Or we can also continue as we have been, and work really hard to try and get those students here. We did learn some things last year, and we were gonna try to make sure that we've prevented every conflict that could pull them away and stuff, and that there's some scheduling things that don't occur. But you know, we did have a couple of meetings where we had literally almost no one show up. I think one meeting maybe even no one show up, and we had hired like 20, 30 different awards. And so it's a wonderful thing for the board to be presenting those and doing that. But then the question that came back that was brought to me by board members was, is that consideration we want to talk about and think about? So that's why we talked about it and brought it here to see where we're at. This is the only forum where you can really discuss that.
I think that when we didn't have them show up a couple of the times, they didn't know, like they weren't informed by.
There were a couple of times where we were informed that they knew, but when I talked to people, they didn't always know. So there were some times, yes.
A couple of those times when a big group, they weren't informed.
And we address that to try and make sure that's not going to ever happen again. Because we always confirm back and get confirmation, and so people do know now that we're double checking confirmation. we don't feel like we should have to do that, but we found that we've had to.
I don't feel like it was us. I feel like.
No. But there was some balls dropped on that, yes.
And then, I don't know if this is, I know we don't all agree on the metrics of our system. I mean, should we kind of maybe recognize the high school for their 3-star? I mean, there's.
We could do that, and and I have talked with Tim a little bit about, so that we're trying to do something at the schools. And notice that they're doing some stuff, but if the board wants to do that, we could definitely do that, because that's a part of.
I don't know, and I don't know if it's I mean, since we're. But it's great that they're.
I don't know if agree or like. Yeah.
So, have we heard anything from like Mr. Spencer, some feedback from the students themselves? Like, do they really want to come here, or is it just kind of a, something that's not really that important to them?
Well, since I've talked to have enjoyed it.
My
I can't speak for everyone.
Like, would it be more meaningful to the students to receive the recognition in front of their peers? I mean, that tends to be a bigger deal sometimes for students, is like being recognized at an assembly. Not that, like, I mean, the board could still have representation, or, the awards are still signed by the board president or things like that. But, I mean, that would be a question in my mind, is does that give the students more of an opportunity, because they can't always make it here in the evenings? And then is it more meaningful for them to be called out in front of their peers?
I feel like that was something that I had mentioned last year as well, is doing something at an assembly, and maybe if it were planned out, maybe even a couple of us could attend that. More space, more people there, everyone ready to go. But I'm open to whatever everyone else wants to do.
I think it's important that if we do move it there, that we need to recognize that board members should be, somebody from the board should be there to present. It shouldn't just be handed to the high school, so we have to commit to that. And that creates challenges for some board members to have that option. Like it creates challenges for students. Which one is more positive, but.
So maybe we're looking at more than one way to present things. Maybe there's certain things or certain times maybe there's potential to look at each situation, possibly. That's a little more complicated, but and see is there a way to do it that is the most meaningful way to do that, which allows for board member participation and ability. Because I do think that there are some that this venue has worked really well for, and has been very good for. Especially there were a few times last year where some of the recognitions were associated with a presentation they were doing to the board, speaking about like esports, and then we recognize them for something else, So there might be some opportunities for that. Maybe we can come up with a mixed solution that provides. And one thing I know is that I was thinking, and this really doesn't have to do with recognition, but I know when graduation is a little bit different. But I know last year we had to do some split and conquer and divide stuff and things. But and also when you said that about maybe an assembly or something with their peers, I'm thinking about when we had the middle school had their promotion ceremony, and a couple of board members that were there for that. Different, so something, and that's different. That's not awards, so I guess that's a little off topic. It's the same idea as in a group. Yeah. So, I don't know, more thoughts.
We truly thought the ball was dropped. I'm gonna just try it again, just to see, we're trying to fix something that really isn't broken.
That's kind of where I'm at too, is maybe fix the communication component and see how bad it really is, if it does need to be addressed.
Is there a way we can, like, maybe send an email to the parents saying this? Because, I mean, it's my kid's in high school and she only tells me last minute we're on the clock. Maybe there's a way we can let the parents know?
Yeah, we can. So, if I'm understanding correctly, I think that the consensus kind of is, and I know we have, no action's been taken or anything, but it's kind of our, let's continue with that, and we'll do our due diligence and everything that we can to make sure and see how that's gonna work. Also, I think that maybe there are certain situations that arise, and there may be other opportunities outside of a board meeting for board members to participate in some recognitions. That might be better done in that venue. We could look at that as well. Probably ones that may be a little bit different, but sometimes if they do have, got to keep an eye on things.
Daryl, I think right now, let's just focus on seeing if we can improve, tighten up the communication and see what happens here. And then we can move on to the discussion of that. You know, we rarely did any of that until recently. So, and then with changes in staffing everywhere, then some of that gets lost. But
we had a lot of changes in staffing, and
yeah,
and even when we were talking athletics and even some of the other things, it was coaching changes and stuff. And that was a thing that we did find, is we were establishing an expectation with new staff members that just really weren't aware of the gravity of the expectations.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to the assembly idea if it's not going to work here, but one of the reasons that I like doing it here is that it brings people to us. And I know they leave, which is perfectly fine, but at least they're participating even for a minute in a board meeting, and us being able to have that connection in here, I think, can be helpful.
No, I completely agree. We get good pictures here too.
And I come from Southern California, and I was born and raised in a farming community. I don't know if most of you guys know the El Centro and Pro Valley Brawley community. So out there, kind of like putting everything into perspective of everything that as a board member has, board meetings are all about. I was raised in an opportunity community that had different things placed, knowing that we were low income. So it's just kind of like overall, what do we need to do to get this school from this point where they're at right now to where we want them to be so they can be successful community members in the future? So I partook in the Jaime Escalante program, which was getting me from a math level from beginning math to calculus by the end of high school. I participated in a program called AVID, which taught you how to get higher SAT scores. And that was only for the morning. You would go to a class in the morning, and they would teach you life skills or study skills for the SATs. The main thing that stuck out on me on that one was the Latin part, learning Latin and learning different words and the vocabulary, so that when you would read a sentence or when you would read a subject, you would know what that word meant because you used Latin root word for the word where it was coming from. Then the other program I participated in was called Upward Bound, which was a college program that helped and participated in improving their scores after school. So you would go after school and stay after school for at least 2 hours to get your homework done. And then there they actually paid you for doing your homework. By the end of the week, they gave you a $20 stipend because it was funded by the local college that helped and participated in getting the kids motivated to do their homework or to go to school. And then the other thing that it also brought up was that awards, how important awards are. And students today don't really see where awards plug in or where notifications plug in or attendance plug in because Not sure if they're being taught that, if they are to keep a portfolio of their life schedule from starting from kindergarten all the way to their high schoolers. I grew up, like I said, going back kind of like full circle, growing up in a family that was low income, bilingual, which my mother and my father worked in the fields. My mother was always trying to attend board meetings. I remember her telling me, board meetings, that's how I know what to start in school. And I was like, hey, Mom, I have a kid, you know, I might think about this. And now I have my first child. She's in 6th grade at EC Best. And parent, letting you guys know how hard it is what you guys are. It's emotional to me because I see how hard you guys are working. And the amount of people that are here today, and I don't know how your numbers are, but I can hear that you guys are all trying to plug in to try to figure out what we can do to make our better. And there's just a lot of emotion because now as parents, and I see all the struggle that my mom and dad went through. I'm sorry. It's very important for you guys to hear this. Transportation, being a parent, raising a second grader, and wanting her future to be successful. Because I see all the people in my life and how they put parts and they put their effort, and how the awards have made an effort. And I think it's important for those kids to know they are recognized because they struggled through school. Like for me, attendance was very low for me. I was an asthmatic as a little child, always missing school. And if it wasn't for my sisters, my siblings, to help me do my homework, I wouldn't have been as successful as I was. So tutoring programs are very important, especially for kids who are struggling with their health. And then with my support from my parents, my sister being silly, she says, I'll give you Florina $20 if she gets an honor roll in high school. And my sister put that bet on my mom and dad, and they're like, it was a motivation. Like, but I said, no, that's not the reason why I did well. It's because there was a health service program that helped me with my health with putting like allergy shots to help my asthma to fight the allergy. So that improved me. And then, but like going back, it's just everything that you guys said today is just overwhelming because it's just the community wants to do better. The awards are not, kids are not coming in, but yet there's technology that they're involving themselves in. Maybe there's ways that we can partake in making some sort of an app, or right now Dojo is what they're using at my school. If their kid can be then told by their parent, or says your child is receiving an award today for this and this, because my daughter received the award for Student of the Month. I was waiting for my teacher to tell me. Guess what your teacher said? No. Nothing. I just heard it from her telling me, Mom, I'm Student of the Month. And I said, how did you know? They said it in the loudspeaker, and principal said my name, and I couldn't believe it, but I don't know if he said my name. But then later they took a photo of me, and they were, I was very excited. But I was waiting, like anticipating for a call or a letter saying your child has, because I'm the type of person that was raised that way, that I wanted to, put that in her little portfolio that stuck for her.
Thank you. That's well said. So I think we need to just kind of keep what we're doing.
Yeah.
Move on.
And then, like I said, like what you guys said, if you guys want to make more people come here, if you guys want to have more people come to attend these meetings, wouldn't it be neat that maybe you can do a red carpet kind of thing and maybe pick up those students in a limousine or something like that? Make it fun and make it different. I don't know. Just make it like paparazzi style, or a theme to each director's meeting. I don't know. It's just some ideas for the modern. For me, I don't have to be modern to understand what's important, but I have a good taste of classic style of raising kids because of my parents, and I am also part of the new generation of technology and something different.
Thank you.
But sorry for my emotional, but it is emotional because it's a hard work.
Thank you very much for speaking up, but I do agree with maybe a little better communication. And, a lot of the students that we've been recognizing are, everyone, well, not everybody, but I kind of babysit my parent portal app, and maybe if those kids, the students that are going to be recognized, if something can go through on the parent portal and say the golf team is going to be recognized tonight, and then you as a parent, when you see that, and then you can ask, like Celeste was saying, hey, you're on the golf team, are you sure we supposed to be somewhere right now? Like, I think that would be helpful. You know, I had a similar experience with the Gurkha Great, where my kid was like, I think I heard my name on there, I'm not really sure, and we really actually never knew if he heard his name or not, but, you know, all the kids said that they did, and I never got the call, so.
Okay, ready to move on?
I mean, I think if there's any way to do these announcements, saying the announcement's one thing, but to actually put in there, we invite all team members and parents, so the parents know we want them there in the state. Yes, instead of just golf team will be recognized. Well, what does that mean? Who's supposed to be there?
We'll work on that.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on to 13, discussion and possible action regarding future agenda items as requested by the Board of Trustees, clarification of requested agenda items. What side do we want to start on? All right, well, good.
So recently I was made aware of Assembly Bill 501, which gives trustees the power to allow credit for certain outdoor recreational activities. I would like to have a discussion about that, along with any other new laws that the board doesn't know about that we need to address. That one kind of caught me by surprise.
No, that one, and we've requested information more for clarification on 501. I guess we can't discuss it, but just know we've been actively seeking for information on that. So I think we have some programs that account for that ahead of some others. We've been seeking that, but
we can't discuss.
And so it's for 501 and also some other new ones that are coming down. So for clarification, so I can ask clarification, right? So as we receive information on some of those, because some guys in the state will make sure that we do inform and have discussions.
Yeah, I know that request has potential to be pretty vague, so I guess we can narrow it up to 501 and take the other ones when they come down.
Trustee Whitaker? No, Trustee Ghetto.
I'd like to request a conversation on staff exit interviews to see if the board would entertain creating policy to ensure our district is doing everything we can to retain employees.
Real good. Look, don't have any either. So next board agenda setting, it is on the day of the retreat, so October 15th at 4:30. Ghetto. Do we have closed session? Okay, so moving on to 15, closed session. For discussion and possible action, discussion of negotiations and strategies regarding contract with Churchill Administrative Association and Nevada Classified School Employees Association pursuant to NRS 288.220.
I move to go into closed session.
We have a motion by Trustee McFadden, a second by Trustee Ghetto. Any public comment on going into closed session? And now I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Unanimous.